The government shutdown over Donald Trump's ridiculous border wall continues. Right now, furloughed federal workers are pretty close to missing their second pay period, as of course many of them are continued to work for no pay. So they're being expected to show up to work, and they're not getting paid for it. They've missed two paychecks now, and so there is no end in sight too for the shutdown. Now, Trump continues to demand funding for his wall. He says that's the only way that we're going to end the shutdown. And so, I'm not gonna budge on this. I'm firm. I'm as firm as the wall. Okay. In fact, earlier today, Donald Trump tweeted, "Build a wall and crime will fall." That's not true at all. Immigrants, both undocumented and documented immigrants, actually commit less crime overall than native-born Americans. But nice try, right? Now, at the same time, Democrats are actually standing firm. Weirdly enough, there's this whole thing with Nancy Pelosi basically disinviting Trump from the State of the Union, which I think is hilarious because, you want to shut down the government, then you're not going to come to the State of the Union. We're just not going to let you in. Either we're not going to let you in, or we're just not going to tape you and you can talk to nobody. No, great. Now, that's one thing, interestingly enough, and for this we go to Tony Schwartz, right? So Tony Schwartz is the ghostwriter for Art of the Deal. So he worked with Donald Trump. He got to know Donald Trump. He thinks that her denying him the State of the Union is one way to end the shutdown. Interesting theory, but I don't know for sure. But anyway, now, nonetheless, from what we can see now, Trump plans to hold the government hostage until he gets funding for that wall. So now he's got to think it's worth it, right? I mean, that is something that maybe the American people want. Well, okay, let's take a look at the numbers. Now, there's a recent poll carried out by Politico and Morning Consult. Now, they found that 43% of registered voters support Donald Trump's wall. Man, that's 43% of registered voters. That is a big chunk of people that are like, yes, let's build a wall. That's fairly disastrous in my opinion because I don't think the wall would actually do anything. Now, they want to build that wall no matter what, right? Even if it means shutting down the government. Actually, no, that's not it at all. So how many of those 43% of registered voters that are in favor of building that wall, right? These are Trump fans that are like, we're worried about border security and immigration. How many? Only 7% of American voters support giving Donald Trump funding for his border wall to end the government shutdown. Only 7%. Again, these are Trump supporters that are like, build the wall. We're scared of immigrants because, again, that's fear, right? That's the motivator. But at the same time, we really don't want you to end our food stamps. Now, look, of course, I say don't shut down the government for your ridiculous border wall. That's ridiculous. I just repeated myself twice. But look, here's the thing. That wall, as I said before, is not going to work. And it's really a solution in support of a problem, or I'm sorry, in search of a problem. And it's not even a good solution. It's a terrible solution. It's an unworkable solution. And yet, he's pushing for it. Now, of course, you guys know why. But first, let me go to how he's been doing in the polling. Now, remember, when President Trump first got elected, and not only that, but leading up to the election, Donald Trump talked about polls all the time. Oh, the polls are so fantastic. Look at the polls. I'm doing great in the polls. Especially versus crooked Hillary, right? And, oh, the people love me. I'm doing fantastic. Look at my approval rating. He doesn't talk about that anymore. You want to guess why? Oh, it's because this disapproval rating is now at an all-time high. In fact, 57% of Americans say that they disapprove with Donald Trump's job performance. Now, and a lot of that is fueled by this government shutdown that most Americans don't really want. In fact, there was a Washington Post article written where they traveled to Michigan. They talked to Trump voters. And I actually quoted that in a story that I did a few days ago. And most of them say, well, look, this shutdown is dumb. It makes no sense. In fact, Jeremiah Wilburn, 45-year-old operating engineer from Michigan, he voted for Trump. He told the Washington Post, quote, "It's ridiculous," referring to the shutdown. You know, you're not getting the wall built for $5 billion. And Mexico is not paying for it. We all know that too. Meanwhile, it's starting to turn people like me away. Even Trump voters know that this entire shutdown business is dumb. He's holding the government hostage. Food stamps are going to run out. People are looking at getting evicted from subsidized housing. And you know, most people on those government programs are white people, a lot of rural people, even a lot of Trump supporters, a lot of Trump voters take advantage of, and I don't mean take advantage in a bad way, but take advantage of these systems that are put in place to help people in poverty. They're in poverty, which means they get access to these systems. Now, undocumented immigrants don't get access to these systems, yet for some reason they believe they do. And so a lot of Republicans are like, yes, we need to build that wall. But that's not true at all, right? But anyway, there's also TSA agents that are increasingly calling in sick to go probably work at their second job because they got to pay the bills somehow, right? On and on and on. And there are more negative effects that are incoming as this shutdown goes on. If this is a political calculation, it's probably the worst that I've ever seen. But in reality, it's not a political calculation. Yes, it's political, but there's no calculating involved. Donald Trump's not smart enough to do that. No, what this is about, this whole thing about, is it's about his ego. It's a vanity project. Donald Trump wants something big to put his name on, right? Again, all about the ego. It's all about nothing but the ego. And so he's willing to continue this ridiculous shutdown, this harmful shutdown, because all he cares about is himself. Not you, not the people who are working for the government, not even the thoughts of his and desires of his own constituency, his own supporters, who are massively against shutting down the government for the wall. He does not care about that because it's only always been about Donald Trump. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know how I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.